Hollywood Brown is out. Hollywood Brown, if you haven't been paying attention, like I went and looked at his numbers today. I didn't quite realize how good of a year he was having. Basically like 7 yards a catch or 7 catches per game. Sorry. He had a game this year against the Rams with like 14 catches. He went off. He's out. Hopkins questionable. Ertz out. Maybe McCoy playing for better or worse. I don't know if that's good or bad at this point, but yeah, you're getting a shell of the Cardinals, who are giving up a home game to go play in Mexico City in front of what's going to be 80% Niner fans at elevation.
Did you see the stat that when they first started doing this or consistently going to Mexico City, almost 15 years ago, they had like quantitative ways to figure out how many fans that they thought they had in Mexico, 9 million. And now they think they have more than 40 plus million NFL fans south of the border. And what's funny is I was reading this Athletic article, like a large percentage of them are 49er fans, because we've always been told there might be a fan base that claim that they own the Latino population. It turns out it's just a bold-faced lie. It's a good, one of those that just feels correct, but it's actually not correct. And the 49ers own Mexico. And based on the numbers this week, obviously the overall fans they have, Mexico City is massive, but I'd say the Niners, you could argue that they're the biggest team in Southern California. Obviously, by the numbers, they're the biggest team in Mexico, and should be a home game for them against. You got to win this game. You're playing Colt McCoy with no Hopkins, no Hollywood, no Ertz. I would say this: you lose Ertz for the year last week. That's a big wow blow, right? Hopkins, who since he's come back has just looked like fucking Devontae. It's been awesome. Then he just gets hurt in that game. Now he's out. You just watch them play, even with Hollywood, who's been hurt. Those two guys, are a pretty potent crew. So I remove both those two guys. If Kyler could be 100% healthy, he could be 120%. You can't lose to this team, right? It's unacceptable. You cannot. In Arizona, in Mexico, in China, in Levi's, like this version of the team you're getting is because we talk shit about Arizona, and I'm the leader in the clubhouse because they are talented because they really are. If they rolled out with Hollywood, Hopkins, Rondale, James Conner, Kyler Murray, like they got
and the talent on their defense.
Yeah, that is not what Buda Baker is battling through this. Watching that second episode, like they didn't even think they were shocked when he came out to practice. Yeah, he was supposed to be gone for like 3 weeks.
The ankle. The other thing is the Seahawks are on a bye this week, John. Here's the Seahawks remaining schedule: Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Niners, obviously, Chiefs, Jets, Rams. So I would, the way the Rams are going right now, the Panthers, the Jets, the Raiders, right? Like the Seahawks could keep winning games. The Niners are 3-0 right now in the division. You win this game, you get to 4-0 in the division, right? With one Arizona game at home and one Seattle game on the road still coming. And you've mentioned this for a few weeks when they've been in these divisional games. 4-0 in the division, or then maybe 5-1 or whatever the case would be, right? It's pretty damn good. And you give yourself a great shot, not just to make the playoffs, but winning the division should be their priority still at this point. This Seattle team, as you pointed out last week, you should not lose out on the division with the roster that you built to a Geno Smith quarterback team. You just shouldn't. You've already beat them once. And, you're going to have to keep winning, though, because their schedule, unless they have like a Giants-type fall-off, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, maybe not quite to the degree of the Giants, because the Seahawks have just been a better team than the Giants have been.
And they have a little more high-end. They got 2 legit receivers.
Yeah. Yep. They can go score a bunch of points, but the touchdown interceptions right now for Geno, I think what did we look the other day? It was like 17-4 or something. It was off the charts. So they got to come down to earth maybe a little bit, but again, their schedule is they should keep winning games. So if you really want to go win the division, you got to go win this game. And then, by the way, you'll be 6-4. The Niners will be in first place if they win this game because they'll be 6-4. Seattle will be 6-4, and the Niners will have the head-to-head.
Here's what I will say: you win this game, you're 6-4. You're going to be, what would you guess? Sneaky. I think it's like 3.5-4 hours from Mexico City back to San Francisco, but so it's a short week. But they're going to be a 6-7 point favorite against a terrible Saints team. This stretch, which I would say when the season started did not look that hard, looks a lot harder now. Dolphins, Bucks, Seattle Commanders. That's just a tough 4-game stretch with Dolphins playoff team. Bucks are going to win that division. I mean, Seattle, like you just described, and the Commanders are more than alive right now. I mean, I think a lot of people were just kind of taking Texans and the points was a sexy bet this week, right? Because short week, Commanders, Super Bowl, beat the Eagles. I watched a little bit of that game. They beat the shit. It was like 17-0 like that. Like they came to pound them. Now they are 11-9 when Heineke starts. They got Chase Young, who didn't come back in this game. Like that game looks. The good thing is you get all three of those teams. Obviously, you got to go to Seattle, but Dolphins, Bucks, Commanders all at home. And the Commanders game, players, you kind of live in a bubble, but it is on Christmas Eve. They're traveling along. Who knows? Maybe the Commanders are a little easier for the home team in theory, right? To kind of button down. Or you could argue maybe it's not. Maybe you got people coming, that week. I don't know.
Here's the other thing about the Cardinal game. That's a good observation, by the way. The other thing about the Cardinal game, remember the last time the Niners did their "we'll stay on the road" at the Greenbrier? That was before the Atlanta game. They go lose to Atlanta after that. Beat Carolina, then lost to Atlanta. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
So I was in Atlanta. I was at the Air Force Academy on Saturday, John. I was in Colorado Springs this weekend, not to see the Niners for Air Force football game. It was cold as shit, man. It was so cold. And I was like following, I saw, looking at pictures and just watching some of the press conferences. Being there myself, I think it was kind of weird that the Niners were there. Now, I saw Shanahan said they sent out an advanced crew. They said they got all the facilities here. We want to be at elevation. I don't know if you saw his quote. He said Alfredo Gutierrez doesn't really know the people in Mexico, so we can't trust his connections in Mexico City. We don't know if they had the facilities to go. Because someone was like, why don't you go to Mexico City early? Like, well, Alfredo didn't have the connections. So we sent some guys to Air Force instead to check it out.
Which I don't think you go to Mexico City for a week, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, but
I mean, guy, you can't drink the water. I mean, there's just some risks.
Yeah. So they for people who didn't follow the story, they went to Colorado Springs because
is that the 49ers Latino broadcaster?
No, that's the offensive lineman, like the 6'7" offensive lineman.
Okay, yeah. Because they do have a Spanish broadcast, correct?
Yeah, they do. I'm here to tell you, it was really cold. They practiced. I couldn't quite follow. I think they definitely practiced at two different locations because they practiced outside on grass, which is Air Force's practice facility. Air Force's stadium itself is turf. They might have practiced there as well. And then they definitely practiced at the indoor facility on Saturday. So I think maybe the upshot of being at elevation outweighs the fact that it was a weird week. But to me, it was a weird week. Like, you traveled twice. It was so cold, which it was just miserable. I had to psych myself up to go to the car. I went to dinner the other night. It was 6 degrees. 6.
Some people live, guy. I mean, most.
I know, but my point is, if you were one of these players, to me, it would feel like a lot of hassle. That's my point. It's a very, habit-based week. It's about rest and recovery. I think rest and recovery was probably kind of difficult at Colorado Springs.
Yeah, do you see the clip of Debo not wanting to come out to the last possible second because it was so cold?
No.
He's like peeking his head out the locker room door, waiting for the whistle to blow, and then he was going to go.
I did not see that. That's funny, though. I forgot until I saw the photo, like McCaffrey, from the area. But, anyway, I just thought it was kind of being there. Like, I wouldn't have thought that had I not gone there. Going there, I'm like, this is a lot of planes, a lot of buses, a lot of cold, a lot of different practice. They're not even practicing at the same place every day. Like, zero habits. I don't know. Just kind of.
What would you have done? Just stayed at Levi's?
Yeah, I probably would have. Like, I don't know. Again, now they've got the elevation thing, so go do the elevation thing. I'm not.
Which is a big deal.
I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying after doing my thought, having not gone, would have been, yes, this is obviously the right thing to do. And then just kind of seeing it all play out and experiencing the weather, my thought was, I would have at least raised my hand in the meeting and been like, I don't know, guys, is this a little much? Like, can we just go play the game? But
you don't go a week early when you're playing the Denver Broncos, and they're at elevation, right? They're a mile high.
Yeah, they're not as high as they're 5,200 and something feet, and Mexico City's like 7,000 plus feet.
So Mexico City's really high.
Mexico City's high. It's like 1,000 plus feet higher than Colorado Springs.
Listen, I can't pretend to chime in about elevation. Beside, it obviously impacts you anytime you've ever gone to like Tahoe and like tried to run. It's no joke. So I understand the mindset, but you're right. I mean, the cold fucks you up, and at the end of the day, like, look at their games. Like, they're not they don't have a cold game. Now, I don't know the weather in Mexico City, but Saints at home,
So it's
Dolphins
gonna
at
be
home,
I think it's gonna be warm.
Bucks at home, at Seattle, but even that, it's rain. Commanders at home, Raiders in a dome, Cardinals at home. It's not like, well, they got to go to at least just get their mindset ready for that Pittsburgh-Cincinnati stretch in December. Like,
Well,
it doesn't even
they're not going to Lambeau in the playoffs this year, I think it's safe to say.
No. So, but let's say they were playing Philly in the second round, right? And Philly's 10 degrees at kickoff. They wouldn't go out to Philly 4 days early, right?
No.
They didn't go out to Lambeau last year early.
Josh on the stream says, as someone who lives at 7,000 feet elevation, the first few days are the worst.